I'm Neil Stratton for Inside the League. This week, NFL draft fans will be burning up their browsers as they canvass the World Wide Web. But how much does internet buzz really affect the game? Asked a different way, do NFL teams read mock drafts? And is there any value in reading them if you're in the football business? The answer is a qualified yes to both. The idea of mock drafts isn't a new one within NFL war rooms. In fact, this week most teams will be conducting their own to get a read on which players will be available when the team drafts. Former Saints scout Barrett Wiley estimated that New Orleans did almost 10 mock drafts in the days leading up to its selection of Ole Miss running back Deuce McAllister in the 2001 NFL Draft. But how much do they really pay attention to the same ones fans read every day on the web? The answer seems to be that they read them, consider them, but don't take them as gospel truth. They just see them as a way to make sure they're prepared for all contingencies. Mock drafts that include a second round, which are slowly becoming more popular, are especially enticing to scouts because they go deeper and give teams more possibilities to consider. I've heard of some scouting directors who actually challenge their scouts' point of view based on what they see online, but that's the exception rather than the rule. Trying to figure out which online services have real input from NFL teams is also tricky. The process of gathering reliable sources and building trust with NFL scouts is almost a game within a game, and there's plenty that goes into it. As a general rule, the websites that have been around the longest are the best bets to have original information, but that's not always the case. Agents are always pushing for the best position in the more popular draft sites' mocks, and will frequently leverage their relations with draft gurus to raise their players' stock. In fact, we tracked the prospects one of the most prominent writers on SI.com had rated as late risers in last year's draft, and it turned out that almost all the players came from the client lists of two prominent agencies. It was pretty transparent that the writer was just doing these agencies a favor. It's also important to note that some teams are great at posturing, feinting, and sending out false signals. It's not uncommon for draft gurus to be unknowing carriers of bad information, especially when it comes to mock drafts, which are often just slightly modified versions of other mocks found on the web. There is one important point. As the draft gets within 24 to 48 hours, most teams drop all pretenses as they begin to interface with the agents for the players they are likely to draft. That information inevitably leaks, so the news you hear, starting about this Tuesday, is probably not too far off base. Tracking the likely destinations for the top prospects in this year's draft can be pretty entertaining, but it's important that no matter what show you're watching, what podcast you're listening to, or what website you're visiting, take the information you get with several grains of salt. For Inside the League, I'm Neil Stratton.